The word on the street or backstage at Tully was that you are the next Martin Scorsese. And no kidding, the union guys backstage at Tully were all crowding around me and saying, that guy, he's the next Martin Scorsese. But the reason I'm bringing it up, besides it's a nice thing to say about Damien, is it seems to me there is a lot of Scorsese in this movie, and I wondered what your relationship to that was. I mean, do you have directors that you look at really carefully and take things from?
Yeah, it's funny how much compliments you can get by thoroughly ripping a director off. I've always been a big believer, and to me, Scorsese is the great example of this. That it's okay to rip off. That you got to rip it off, though. You can't just borrow. You can't just try different clothes on. It's fine to plunder people's houses, but steal it for yourself and steal it. Don't give it back. And I think that's what Scorsese, shamelessly does in his movies, and it's what makes them amazing. There's such a love of cinema in those movies, and that at least is, certainly I came to movies through a love of movies. So the movie buff in me informs the movies that I want to pillage from. But that kind of movie making as cinephilia, I guess, is just sort of, again, that's a product of how I kind of view movies, and I think it's the way I like to make movies. It was certainly the same sort of attitude I brought to bear in Guy and Madeline, which was just a compendium of my favorite, musicals and French New Wave movies and Cassavetes movies all rolled up into one. I think a lot of people sometimes have a problem with that kind of approach to filmmaking. That it seems like a film student's approach, or it seems like and Scorsese early in his career, he's not the only one to have sort of gotten flack for that kind of approach. But the whole idea of originality in art, I think, is really sort of overrated. I think it's a kind of a post 19th century idea, and to me, the greatest art is, and actually jazz is a great example of this. It's taking pre-existing art and adding your spin to it. It's updating it, and everything we think of as jazz today is the American songbook updated with the African American tradition. And so I think that I guess it's a long way of saying I shamelessly kind of steal from the movies I love. Certainly, my editor and I, when editing this movie, had Raging Bull on a loop, to me, it's sort of, that's probably not a surprise given the style of it. But I think so I think it's as long as you're trying in some way to make it your own, not that you necessarily succeed. That's the way I like to make movies. Absolutely, there's always the risk that you fall into a crevice where you don't kind of have a voice of your own. I hope that as I continue to make films that maybe I will, gain more confidence in, or sort of more of an idea of what my voice is beyond the movies that I love. But at least I've grown kind of content with the idea that at least knowing the movies you love and having a specific barometer of taste going into making something at least already gives you some kind of a personality, some kind of a personal element in your cinema, and then maybe that's enough.